Welcome to Crypto Disrupted. I'm Greg Kerr. We got Trent Lepisky and Jay Hudes here today, gaming expert. Welcome and glad you joined us today.
You're there now, Jay. So why don't you introduce yourself and kind of show us around a little bit since we're on video.
Thank you. So what's happened though now is we've kind of stripped down to core to recreate this place into more executive retreat, just bringing up the whole quality and the level and the energetics of it. And because there was so much here, it was so dense and people loved it. It was like a dream world. You come into this dream world, like in the flotation. So that's why I was just kept creating it like Winchester, like Sarah Winchester, do the Winchester Mystery House. On a third of an acre, we had all this stuff and people were like blown away. I was just doing Burning Man year round, right? So Burning Man without the drugs is what we called it. We have a sweat lodge in the front, by the way. And so we have all these different tree houses and, it's just like a lot of stuff going on in one small residential property. I guess I've just been expressing one part of it. So that's kind of the last 10 years going into Burning Man and the creative, mad inventor. So I'm an inventor, creator of a game platform. And that's where I'm very interested in the cryptocurrency, blockchain, holochain, all that, because in 1981, I had this holographic vision, I call it. I saw this future, very advanced technology that I've been reverse engineering for over 30 years now in pieces. So piece. We're now doing the campaign to piece it together, P-E-A-C-E, piece it together, which is, for me, our pieces, but also finding all the other pieces that have been created and try to put it into one ecosystem platform of making a positive change in the world. So I kind of saw this in this vision that I had in the early 80s, saw where the technology was going to go, and it went there and even worse than what I saw. Or almost exactly what was going to happen kind of just played itself. I'm half hour from Silicon Valley. All the top companies are within 40 minutes, 35 minutes where I'm sitting right now. Apple and Facebook, and they're all right here. So I've had that influence, but I also had the influence of Santa Cruz. So we're kind of in this bridge. Physically, we're a bridge between the Santa Cruz mentality, which is kind of this creative vortex tribal culture, and Silicon Valley, this mad technology world. And we're like literally right between the two. So out of the Santa Cruz and now moving more that we want to do an influence. So we've been developing our tools and technologies, this holographic platform, which was collapsed into a game. And my company is called Experience Technologies. And XTech is the developer of a gamification platform to make a positive change influence in the world. And personal growth, so it's tools for us to be the best version of ourselves. Physical card, it was a card game, board game. That's what was going on. It was like the reverse of Dungeons and Dragons of the 1980s. We kind of did that as a positive tool for us to be the best and to play out our thoughts and express ourselves. Team building is what it's been turning into, creativity, ideation now. And we're moving this. We've done an app, so we have a mobile version of the game. We have an online system that was built in this time of the last 10 years. We've working on really refining the pieces that we want to have as part of this platform. For about 20 years before, it was more just testing. You had to be with us. We had our prototypes, and for 2 decades, Shanti and I would be different places, and people had to be with us to play the game. And then 2006, we raised some money. We produced our first version of the game in the form of, and we'll play in a few minutes, so we have these cards, and we have a board, a game board. So it's just like Monopoly, except it's not like Monopoly. It's the reverse of Monopoly. So that's what this is about. Talking about this for the last, since cryptocurrency came out, we've been having this conversation. How do I do it on a microcurrency? 1/100th of a penny value for this energy exchange. So it's really on a micro level that we can like do quarters in an arcade. And because of other fees and all this stuff, it hasn't been functional to do it. So I was kind of ahead of my time with the cryptocurrency. And I'm hearing now that through Ethereum and some other movements that we'll be able to finally do this microcurrency in our system. And then again, getting back engaged with the holochain concept, philosophically, I'm in. For me, I want to put my stock into that mainly. We need to raise some resources now. So we're out there to put this whole system. It's a big venture. So we need to do that. And I'm not sure if it's right away with the holochain that we're able to do that, or we have to make a bridge to it. So I'm interested in that, of how we're launching and fine tuning this system. And instead of monopoly, having dollars, and at one point Monopoly was printing more money than the US government was. That's a fact. Look that up. right? At one point when they were at their height. So popular. It was like the most popular game on the planet, and it is. And I believe it was intentionally done to program us into that framework of what Monopoly does. I believe like we're kind of the antidote, especially when we add the economic piece to it. We can be like this antidote to what Monopoly did to the world, because Monopoly was hijacked by James Darrow in the mid-30s during the Depression. He took a pure concept of the evils of capitalism, where it can go, and having a fair taxation system by this Quaker woman in the early 1900s. And this guy overlaid Atlantic City on it and put in one evil rule. There could only be one winner. That wasn't the deal before in the original Monopoly, when it was called the landlord's game. He kind of flipped the paradigm, and then the system went with it, and it became the most popular game on the planet. Everybody has played. We're all been programmed with Monopoly mind of greed, and all that stuff is embedded into it. As a gamification specialist, the whole thing was, how do we create a similar system, but on the positive flip of that? And it was obvious that cryptocurrency could be that. And then when the holochain was like, oh, that's holographic. So part one of the answer is the micro cryptocurrency, and having an economic exchange system, point system in our game that's real and has some value on a micro level. And part two is that this is also a communication to the future. So we're playing practical quantum physics here. This game is about being your highest potential and linking to your future best that you can be. And we take that for serious, that if it's all happening simultaneously, and it's happening now, that we can make this bridge. So there's a whole other level of game that we're playing to make those connections to our future and our past, to perfect who we are now, to be the best version of ourselves now. Holochain, or the blockchain, my understanding is we can embed our content of who we are and be able to give this key to the future of who we really are, not just who our kids interpret who we are, or grandkids, or they forget about us, we're gone. So now we can actually have this legacy, a long-term legacy to the future. When the blockchain came out and people explained it to you, I think you explained it to me.
Yeah.
There it is. It's done.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
it is a different approach to databasing, a level of these blocks. And what you can do is, and I like how you're exploring where your life's work and gamification and the blockchain can come together. It sounds like that this type of databasing will allow you to capture progress in time. Where a lot of games, you see the outcome, you see where you end up. You can't really be diagnostic on how you got there. And this may offer you and your work a way to say, hey, not only can we get you to an outcome, but we can be diagnostic in how you got there. And that helps improve the game itself. So really interesting concept. And so I'm an East Coast guy, and this is where me and Trent kind of like come with worlds colliding in these two opposite ends. And it's great that you guys came across from each other. And this may not seem unique to you guys, but being from the East Coast is like, oh, this is so California, this conversation, And
I kind of, by the way.
Oh, you moved over from
New York, and I had to get away from New York. So
because the narrative here in professional life is that you kind of leave work at work, and it's a skill that's prided. Like, this is how I leave work at work. And it doesn't surprise me that Californians started incorporating the work and like their oneness, their selves, and said, okay, now how do I gamify that helps me in my professional life? This also helps me in my personal life to kind of be the best you can be, the best self. So and you're right that there's a function within the blockchain of currency. And if you think of currency as reward, well, then you can now create rewards that flow with your game and help you progress. If there is an end state that the game wants to get you to, it can reward you to that end state, and you can seek those impediment rewards. And I think about, whenever I think of the blockchain and I think of these big critiques of the next generation of worker, people say, how are these millennials going to work? They need constant praise and constant reward. And then the blockchain comes along and you're like, well, now we can give people constant reward. And that's not a bad thing. Like, people doing things you want them to do in your organization, they get rewarded for it in a way that can't be tampered with. So thinking in terms of, say, if you're in a big company and I was a government employee, and I was so far behind on learning how to do budgets, and there's all these, they make you do these professionalization courses, and I just was so uninterested in those. But had you made it a game and said, hey, go get your coin for doing the work we want, that tedious stuff you don't want to do, but and then that coin is going toward promotion too. You have enough coins, you can get promoted. So that's kind of where I'm seeing that the blockchain and games really walk hand in hand. and are more specifically the cryptocurrency, because we can assign value. And every currency doesn't have to be on an exchange and be equal to dollars. You know, you can create internal, like we could all have a currency between us and it's never trade it, but we want to mark and measure our progress in a game between ourselves. Then it's there. So yeah, there's a simplification where the value is just valued by those participating in this game, kind of like monopoly money. So gamification. All right. So yeah, California, once and when, you know, we don't play games on the East Coast. We're
Can I reframe that? Because gamification is kind of the catchphrase. It's taken on the buzzword. More people now know what that is and has one notion. So gamification is more game elements. It's really competitive nature still. So it's been designed for incentive base, and our game model. I don't know if you heard the book Finite and Infinite Games, James Carsey. If you haven't, you might want to look that up. And there's two types of games. There's finite games, which are most of the games played in this planet, in this world, you know, where they're finite, win, lose, zero sum, win, lose, right? Those games, which could be anything. That's from Monopoly and chess and most of the board games, the social, the political games, war games. It's all this win-lose thing. And then there's another type of game that's played in the universe, and it's called the infinite game. It has a different purpose. It's not to have that end run, literally. It's actually to continue the play. We have to be careful because the game, as game elements, as we said, there's the finite and infinite game. And most of the planet is based on the finite game. So you're going to be in that, most games that you create is going to be in a competitive mind, unless you think out of the box. So a way to make that shift, and what we're doing is not just gamification. I call it that so people understand it, but I coined the term playification. So there's game and then there's play. We want to play. We don't want to just play a game. We want to play in our lives, have more engagement and fun and connection. And so that's the Shakespearean plays. It's both the play and the game components. You know, if we put that together, there's the whole system. Gamification is usually the game elements, and you have the rules, and you have leaderboards on the online, you know, for gamification, leaderboards, and it's all about competition still, mostly. So what we're doing with our platform is more playification, that it's in this engaging play of life or game of life. It's what perspective you want to take. We do something called game storming. That's one of our game storm is we're actually rebranding our Experience the Game has been what we've been under for the last 12 years as a brand. So Experience Technology, the company Experience the Game, and people didn't take it for serious because it's just a game in the business world. That's what happened in the last 10 years. Game storm, everybody's like lighting up now because we got a trademark for a game storm. So we're game storming, and it's all about, instead of brainstorming, we don't do brainstorming anymore, we game storm. And it's just a fun process within the process of us being creative and bringing our ideas. And so we have a process of using our cards within that.
Oh,
this is
so we're even. Good point. So just to finish off on that thought, though, it evens the playing field. Yeah. So somebody who is like a driver could be put back in their place within the game that he's outbursted too much, or she, mostly he, and so goes to isolation, can't talk anymore, where somebody who's usually behind the scenes, they're drawn out because they now have a stage that they can communicate and say what they're feeling, and it's okay. And we do that, again, we have different tools and elements, and we're not going to use all of them today, but you know, we have the destiny dice we usually roll to see who goes first. In this game, the lowest one, closest to 1 wins. And then we have a sands of time that we use in corporate environment. When I'm playing with friends and we have plenty of time, we don't use the timer. You know, it goes down. But when we're on the clock, then we have an 88-second timer that you can use, and we call it the sands of time. We have a game board, which we could be playing on. We don't have to. We have we have multiple versions of this game board. I did 8 generations of it over the last 30 years. So this is just one, the most recent derivation. We call it the pocket portal. And the idea is that you can create an environment, a portal, anywhere you go. So you open up the game board, boom, you got a portal, and now people can be connecting, whether it's 2 people or a whole group of people around the game board. But the core of it is the cards, is the content. It's really card. We don't need cards, right? So we have cards, a deck of cards, and we don't need this. This could be online, it could be virtual, digital, you know, and we call them cards, but they're screens and so on. So we have 3 decks. So we do what we call triangulation. It's a triangulation of consciousness, of meaning. The game is about deriving meaning. What can we pull out from our intention? So it's a game of intention. And we start the game with, what's your intention? So that's what I'm going to ask Greg to think about what that is right now. And even though you're not here, it still works because consciousness is all connected, right? So And again, this might be the West Coast to the East Coast. That sounds like woo-woo and out there, but it really works. And that's where we blow people's circuits sometimes, because they sit down and woo-woo is woo-woo, and then all of a sudden they're looking at it and they go, holy shit, inside. They don't even say it. You can see them like, and then a lot of times they open up, because it is new to see the synchronicities of life in a quick reflection. So 3 decks of cards. We have Life Circle, which is the intention that we're setting, and then there's a stage that opens up. So these cards have all different kinds of images, and positive and negative images and colors, and there's a title and a test, because it's a scene, like a scene in a movie. Think about that in the virtual. That's where we're going with it now. But right now they're boiled down to a flattened down physical card. So that's deck 1. And then we have relation cards, which has yin yang sign on it. And these are either, you have what we call empowerment words at the bottom of the deck. There's a dream card, right, with an image to it. Or it could be a warning sign. And these 2 cards that I just pull are meaningful in the game now. I'm going to put them back in the deck, but normally pull them out. So I've got this green board, a clear slate. And so it could be one or the other. There's device could be anything in the world. It could be your headset. It could be your ear. These are all devices. So that's in the relate deck. And then the challenge deck, which has this little Harry Potter lightning sign here, can either be a warning sign, like on the bottom, there's the stop, which I'm going to do in a second from explaining, and then go into the game that Trent keeps thinking about. Let's play. And then we have also words of wisdom, and invoke Shanti's card, one of my favorite quotes in the whole game. Everything changes. Everything changes. Everything changes. Not that much. So those are the 2 kinds of cards. So this represents, so if you're in the virtual, Shanti's there saying this quote to you, or it could be Benjamin Franklin or Donald Trump or whoever. It could be there now saying their wisdom or insanity. So we have 3 decks of cards that we're triangulating: Life Circle, Challenge, Relate.
I guess if I had to commit, I would commit to, helping you achieve your goals. As you put that down there, I wrote it down. And then also, I want to commit to playing the game again. Maybe find new players and play it again, because I found a lot of utility to it. And I think I have other relationships that I could use this game with to make stronger.
Fantastic. Thank you. This has been an honor to do this with you, with the work that you're doing. And so I'm very, very excited about having this time to play together and reflect on what we're doing, and kind of see where we all fit together.
Well, yeah. Well, we appreciate it, Jay. And like I said, this was a good time. It was healthy. It was valuable. We appreciate you sharing your ideas. Yeah. Hopefully we can do it again.
We'll do it again, hopefully soon, and we'll play. Yeah. I'm gonna hold you to that game. We'll do that game with your team soon, and talk further of how we can work together to make an impact in this world, a positive impact.
Great. Absolutely.